Happy Friday, Fire Fam. Welcome, everybody, to the Friday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. This is the safe space where we set oppression ablaze because it's becoming increasingly obvious and more clearer by the day, gang, that the system is ready to fail. So I think we should help that bitch along and push that hoe down the stairs. Let us kill the system. Let us kill it with fire. Let us kill it with flame, because it is trying to consume us all one by one, thousand by thousand, million by million. And guess what? It is more of us than it is of them. And they can be defeated, baby, because we are more than a conqueror. You feel me? So listen, gang, I'm so excited to see you all in the place to be. We have a really good show for you today. Before we get started, a couple of quick housekeeping notes. So really quick, if you happen to be in the DMV, if you're in the DC area, tomorrow, Lafayette Square, Lafayette Park, right across from the White House, the Black Mothers March is happening. If you watch Black Power Media, this Wednesday morning on the Remix Morning Show, you saw we had a couple of sisters, Amanda and Yehinde, who joined us, who came to talk to us about why the Child Protective Services system needs to be abolished. This is a system that kidnaps our children. This is a system that criminalizes Black mothers. They take billions and trillions of taxpayer dollars into what? Be a legal force to kidnap Black kids. So this Saturday, across from the White House, 11 a.m., the Black Mothers March is happening. If you happen to be in the DC area, I know it's going to be bad weather, but try to come true. And I'm actually going to see if we can get them sisters on the show really soon, because they really lit a fire underneath me to bring attention to the horrors of the Child Protective Services system, how it operates as an evil force against Black families. That's the one housekeeping ting. Second housekeeping ting, please join us Monday for the second Fire Fam Disability Support Chat. Shout out to Anna Hart. Shout out to Mama Hart. They are doing an amazing job organizing this. If you are a patron, you can find that link on Patreon by this weekend. I will post it there before Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. We had about a dozen of us come through, and you guys, we are dealing with a myriad of ailments, okay? And but amazingly and not surprisingly, though, you know, disabled folks have a united story, sort of regardless of what malady that we are dealing with. So if you are a patron, you can find that link information on Patreon as of this weekend. If you are not a patron and you still want to participate, either hit me or Anna Hart up directly, and we will run you the link. And because again, it's a space that I want people to be included in, but because, you know, we're talking about sensitive information like healthcare and diagnoses, etc., I ain't trying to blast it out to the world. I kind of want to make sure that it remains a safe space. So that is happening this Monday. So please be on the lookout for that. And as the show goes today, guys, we have a great one for you today. Coming up at 7:30. Molly Shaw is going to join us. Molly's going to turn her camera on, kids. And Molly has been reporting for the Real News about the coming overturning of Roe versus Wade. Now, even though the SCOTUS draft decision that was released earlier this week has been confirmed as being valid, the official ruling has not yet been out. And as it remains now, abortion is still legal across the country. But it could be the domino effect to the restricting of all kinds of rights that we thought we had, right? Oh, you thought you had rights to gay marriage. Oh, you thought you had a right to vote, Black people. Oh, you thought you had a right to privacy in order to obtain contraceptive, women's and non-binaries. Nope. The right-wing extremists have taken a hold of this country, not to say that they ever let go for an instant, but I think we're about to see shit get way realer out here. Shout out to everyone that is coming through in the chat. I see my people in here. Hello, Imani. I'm so happy to see you in here, darling. Anna is here. Courtney the SLP. Afra is in the house. JG, Jonathan Guerrero, come true. Who else we got in here? Black Magic. Oh my God, all my all-stars is in here. James Thompson, Mr. X. Holly Horn, Latif, Ready Revolutionary. Come on, Ready Revolutionary says abolish the Supreme Court. Yesterday, Ready Revolutionary, abolished that bitch yesterday. And gang, so the first place that I want to go today, tragically, has to do with the police murder of a teenager in Baltimore back in February. Donnell Rochester was murdered by Baltimore Police Department gang, and his murder remains under investigation. But it's been months now, and nobody's been charged in connection to Donnell's murder. Like I said, he was murdered by Baltimore police. And today, I am very honored and very privileged to welcome Donnell's aunt, Markia Jackson, to the show. Markia has been leading the charge, trying to get justice for her nephew. And as a baseline understanding, you know, our editorial philosophy here on Burn It Down with Kim Brown is that the police lie. The police lie. And of course, the police claim that Donnell engaged in actions which triggered, so to speak, them to fire upon him in his vehicle and kill him. And I don't believe them, because you know why? Because the department has a history of lying, period, point blank. So joining us today from Baltimore, I'd like you guys to give a warm Fire Fam welcome to Markia Jackson, the aunt of Donnell Rochester, joining us today. Markia, thank you so much for making time to speak with us. And please accept my deepest condolences for your family about the murder of your nephew.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So, tell you what, I want us to take a look at how local media covered the murder of your nephew. And gang, I want to just give everybody a trigger warning that, you know, that this involves sensitive footage. This involves, like I said, the incident as I described. But there are contradictions between what the police say, and of course we know that local media always runs with the police narrative of things. Seldom do they question it. It's a lot of police say, authorities say, officials say when reporting on these kinds of things. So let's take a look at how WJZ reported this, the CBS affiliate in Baltimore, just a few short weeks after it happened. Let's take a look.
The family of an 18-year-old killed in a police shooting is demanding answers. Donnell Rochester was shot when police say he drove towards officers trying to take him into custody. And WJZ is live at police headquarters. Christina Mendez is catching up on where this investigation stands. Christina.
Well, today, the Maryland Attorney General's office did say that this investigation is still ongoing, but for Donnell's family, they're after closure sooner rather than later.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
This is the call.
Hoping at least heard. Hoping so.
From family of 18-year-old Donnell Rochester to be heard by Baltimore City Police Department and beyond.
So we just asking for the mayor and the commissioner to please give some kind of peace to his mother.
The deputy police commissioner says on February 19th, officers working a crime suppression detail in Northeast Baltimore tried to pull over Donnell after finding he was wanted on an open warrant for failure to appear in a carjacking case. City police say Donnell attempted to drive away and accelerated toward one of the officers, who was struck and knocked to the ground. Gunshots are heard by police body camera video. The teen was hit by a bullet. Donnell later died at the hospital. Now family waits for the Maryland Attorney General's office to finish its investigation.
And he was full of life. He was a happy kid. Always wanted to make people laugh. Always tried to do something for somebody.
The 4 officers who were at the scene of the shooting do remain on administrative leave pending the outcome of this investigation. I'm reporting live from the Baltimore City Police Department. I'm Christina Mendez for WJZ.
So Markia, let me ask you, you know, the details that have been reported about what happened the day that the police murdered your nephew. Has people come to you, people in the neighborhood, people who may have witnessed what happened, has what people has brought back to you their firsthand accounts? Because that's what bothers me about a lot of these media accounts. They always take the police's word and they don't really ask the neighborhood or even potential witnesses what they saw. So are there any contradictions between what the police accounting of what happened on February 19th differ from what folks have come up to you and your family and said?
Actually, no, because there were no witnesses out there with him. He was, out there by himself, but we seen the truth once the cameras was released. That's when we seen the truth about what happened.
So tell me what the body cam footage that Baltimore police released, because they did release a lengthy portion of the body camera. What did the body camera tell you and the rest of Donnell's family that the police had not said?
So, what I saw on the body cam footage was my nephew, he ran and got in his car, and the police officer was standing outside of his car telling him to get out of the car, but they had their guns out already, yelling at him, saying, get out the car, get out the car. So my nephew, of course, he's scared at this point. So he pulled off, but they say he accelerated off. And when you say accelerate, I'm thinking he put his foot on the gas and he just sped off. And then they stated that he hit a police officer, which was a lie, because once my nephew, he pulled off, the police officer ran in front of his car and he started shooting at my nephew. And as you can see, my nephew, he immediately got out the car saying he can't breathe, he can't breathe. And they proceeded to still arrest him, and they treated him like an animal. They was throwing him around on the ground. And my nephew, he's like, he's begging and pleading for them to like help him because he can't breathe. And they he they did call for a medic, but the medic, it did not arrive. My nephew was out there for 18 minutes. That's the traumatizing part for me, because he was out there on the ground for 18 minutes struggling, begging and pleading with them to help him. And all they can say to him is, keep breathing, bro, keep breathing. That's all they kept saying to him. And all they had to do was put my nephew in the back of their car and take him to the hospital. And they chose not to do that. So that's traumatizing for me, to know that my nephew last moments were so traumatizing for him. And a few days after they unlawfully murdered him, they planted a first attempt murder charge on him, because they stated that my nephew attempted to murder one of the officers. But I'm not sure if you guys seen it or not, but in the video, Officer Murray was asked, did he hit you? And Officer Murray stated, no, I don't think he did. So it's truly traumatizing to know my nephew was killed over a lie.
That's a lot to unpack. So just so I'm understanding what you're saying here, Markia, after officers shot your nephew, he was asking for aid, and they did not render aid. Not a single officer on the scene offered aid to him beyond keep breathing, bro.
They did put like a bandage around his underarm, because that's where he was shot at. They put a bandage around his arm, but they just kept telling him, keep breathing, bro. And my nephew, he was saying, help me. So just imagine his thought process as he's on that ground. He's thinking, that's the traumatizing part for me. And this is what makes it hard for me to deal with this, because I can only imagine what was going through his mind. So yes, they just was saying, keep breathing, bro, keep breathing. And he was really trying to keep breathing.
So in the news report, it said that that Donnell was wanted for an outstanding warrant. Now, I know a lot of people will hear information like that and say, oh, well, he already was in trouble, or he had a record, or he had a history of violence. What I need people to understand is that a warrant does not mean that you are guilty of anything. It means that the police want you in there. They want you in custody, but it doesn't mean that you have had due process. It doesn't mean that you have or that you are facing any charges, that you have even been found guilty of anything. Do you want to speak to what the news put out regarding Donnell's alleged carjacking warrant, and whether or not there was even any merit to that?
To be completely honest, the day that happened, on February 19th, Commissioner Harris, he stated they, they ran Donnell license plate and they stated that Donnell had a potential warrant. And 2 weeks later, Commissioner Harris came back and stated they believed Donnell had a warrant. They couldn't produce a warrant for Donnell. So I truly don't believe that statement at all in regards to a warrant, because at first it was he had a potential, then they turned around and said they believed he had a warrant and they cannot still produce that warrant. So to me, this was all for nothing because he had a white car with tinted windows, basically.
And that's it's beyond a tragedy because, we understand that is a lot of ways in which, quote unquote, police involved shootings end up in murders because of traffic stops, because of alleged traffic violations. So many of our folks don't escape traffic violations, tinted windows, license plate obscured, something hanging from your rear view mirror, just all kinds of random reasons to engage with folks. Also in that report, Markia, it mentioned that the BPD was in the area as part of a crime suppression unit. Can you talk to us about what that looks like in your neighborhood and whether or not these so-called crime suppression units actually suppress any crime, or are they really there to harass and criminalize residents of the area?
Yeah, that's truly confusing for me because like our high crime neighborhoods, you have police officers on every corner and there's murders going on every corner in Baltimore City. And you have the police just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. So it's kind of confusing to me that they have this special, department and that mobilize on crimes, but we actually have crimes going on and the police is actually sitting right there watching it. So that was truly confusing for me to even hear that they had such a thing, to be completely honest with you. It was truly confusing for me. And this happened at 3-something in the afternoon, where kids could have been outside playing, people could have been on their porches, but they just didn't care. So
And a lot of times, Markia, I know, especially, in certain neighborhoods, and I've done a number of stories really in cities across the country where police will end up killing somebody that they knew. So in the sense that a unit of officers will patrol a certain neighborhood, a certain area at a certain time, and then they will engage with people to the extent that they maybe know them on the first name basis. I mean, to your knowledge, do you know whether or not Donnell knew any of these officers? Did any of these officers know him? Had he experienced any harassment from Baltimore police before the day that he was murdered that you're aware of?
not that I'm aware of. I don't think so. So I can't speak on that. So I really don't know.
Okay. Okay. Well, would you mind sharing with us the kind of person that Donnell was? I mean, it's so heartbreaking because he was just a baby. He was just 18. And truly, like, my heart really does break for you and your family. But can you describe Donnell to us? Can you tell us some of the things that he liked to do and what was maybe some of the plans he might have had for himself?
So Donnell was truly, truly full of life. He enjoyed living. He was energetic. He was high spirited. He loved to sing. He loved to dance. He loved fashion. His dream in life was to he loved to travel. Even though Donnell was only 18, years old, he traveled. He made sure he lived his life. And every day was an adventure for Donnell. Every day he was allowed to do something new with himself. So, and also he loved Nicki Minaj. He was truly a fanatic of Nicki Minaj. He loved her. And what truly makes this hard is because his personality was like no others. He was fearless. He was his own individual. and he's truly, truly, truly missed. And this is something that I know we will never get over because of the type of person that he was. And if you met Donnell, you would love Donnell because that's just the type of person that he is. Anybody that knows me, they know of Donnell and they instantly fall in love with Donnell because of the person that he was. And he was more than my nephew. We've had kind of like a sister bond. Like that was my baby sis. We call each other sis, or that was my fave. So yeah, this is truly traumatic to deal with. It really is because of the person that he was. So.
And I mean, for him to be taken by the state and then for the state to come around and tell stories and mistruths and fabrications about what happened to him, I mean, I'm sure that just compounds the trauma that you and Donnell's other family members must be feeling. So tell me about the fight for justice for Donnell. If you guys follow Markia on Instagram, she's at Markia31. Markia, if you could pop up the flyer when you get a chance, Tunde. Markia has been out here, y'all. She's been consistent. She's been in the streets. Markia, if I'm recollecting this correctly, you know, you was even let's go to people's houses. You know, let's post up in front of, you know, whomever the prosecutor or the police officers accused. Talk to me about the efforts, either trying to bring attention to Donnell's case alongside of trying to get justice for Donnell. What has that been like for you? Because it seems like it's an uphill battle. What have you guys been experiencing?
For me and my family, because my sister, his mom, she's definitely out there. She has been out there since, you know, from the start. And it has been a little frustrating because we feel like we don't have the city support with this for some reason. But in our mind, long as we are out there, that's all that matters. But as you stated, we have done marches for Donnell. Me and my sister, we even walked through downtown just screaming Donnell's name. Just screaming his name through our little bullhorns, just walking through, just saying what the police have done to him. Me and my brother, the mayor of our city, he was doing like a press conference in the neighborhood, and we went to the press conference and we were yelling at him because he actually congratulated his officers for taking my nephew out. So we pulled up on him as well. We pulled up on him and the commissioner. So we are doing any and everything that we can do to get justice for Donnell. Like we can't stop. We have to do this for Donnell. We can't be quiet because Donnell, he did not deserve what happened to him. So we're out on these streets constantly, twice a week, 3 times a week, just yelling his name because Donnell would do this for us. Like we know he would do this for us. So we can't be quiet about this. And like I said, his mom, she is out there like, oh my gosh, like she is out there. And that's the only thing it kind of bring her joy right now when she's out there fighting for her son. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We in the streets for Donnell Rochester, and we're not stopping until we receive the justice, you know, that he deserved, him and his mom.
And tell me what justice looks like for you guys, Markia. You know, Baltimore has a bad reputation. The police have a terrible reputation. The prosecutors, the state's attorney's office has a bad reputation for not holding cops accountable. And I know the 4 officers who are on administrative leave, aka paid vacation, after murdering your nephew. I mean, it's so infuriating. And sis, I wish you almost had not told me Brandon Scott got up there and praised the police because what? Oh my God. For our viewers who don't know, Baltimore City has a young black mayor by the name of Brandon Scott. Got elected largely as a progressive and has towed the line for the police ever since he's been in office. And that is a very disappointing comment that he made regarding the officers that murdered your nephew. So tell me what does justice look like here for you, Markia?
Justice for me looks like, because as you stated, they are on a paid vacation right now, and that bothers me like no other. Like that angers me to know that they are still being paid after what they did. So justice for me is first them being fired, convicted, and in jail for what they did to my nephew, and not just 5 years, 10 years. No, I wish they can be in jail for life, because there's no way in the world they should be able to get away with what they did to him. Like there's just no way in the world they should still be able to walk around and enjoy life. It's just despicable to me. And like I said, to know that they lied on my nephew and they truly failed him, like the ones who were supposed to protect and serve him, they didn't. They failed him. They truly failed him, and he was begging and pleading with them. So I need for them to be fired and put in jail and the key just thrown away. And I need, to be honest, I want their families to hurt as well. That's what I want, because the pain that we're going through right now is just, I can't even describe it. And like I said, since I seen the video and know what happened, that's truly traumatizing for me. And that's what makes this so hard for me to deal with, because I know what my nephew's final moments of life was like. Like, that's truly traumatizing. That's truly traumatizing for me. So that's what we want right now. Until we get there, we can't stop. We have to keep going.
What has been the community response to you and your sister and the other members of your family trying to get justice for Donnell? Because, we were speaking before we went live, and, Baltimore is an interesting city. Because you have a contingent of radical folks that understand what the Baltimore police is all about. They read the Department of Justice consent decree on the Baltimore police. They knew exactly how these cops operate, flagrantly flaunting the law, routinely violating the civil and constitutional rights of residents. Planting shit on people, planting guns, planting drugs, setting people up for murder. These are routine operations performed by the Baltimore Police Department. And on the same hand, there are folks that might hear about what happened to your nephew and ask, well, what did he do? The police wouldn't just open fire on him if he wasn't doing nothing. So what has been the response from the community to your family about what happened to Donnell?
To be completely honest, our city truly haven't been really supporting this. On social media, people, they may DM me, they may comment, but as far as our protests, like the community really haven't been there. It's just been like mainly me and my family. We've been out there into, it's sad because when we first started this, I told my sister, I said, the city is going to back you with this. Like they're going to back you. They're waiting for you. And for the city not to back her and support her is truly disappointing, because I'm like, what is so different about Donnell? Like, why don't people want to support this? Like, why people are not angry about what happened to Donnell? And as you know, my nephew, he was gay. So I don't know if that is the reason why people are not fighting for him. And that truly breaks my heart as well. And because when this first happened to Donnell, so many people was posting him. They were crying about Donnell, but where y'all at? This is the time when Donnell needs y'all. This is when he need for y'all to be out here fighting for him. Like, even though we're out there, but it would be good to have the ones who say they really love Donnell to be out there for him, because I know Donnell would do it for them, and that's the part that breaks our hearts. Because, like I say, the people, they are not showing out for him. And it's so sad that we have people who never even met Donnell a day in their lives, and they are really rocking with us, really rocking with us. So I don't know what makes Donnell's case different. I don't know. And I hate to say it's because he's gay. I don't know. I don't know why the community is not supporting, Donnell. I just don't.
I hope that's not the reason. I don't know. I don't know the reason, but truthfully, there's a lot of homophobia in our community, you know, and it's tragic, especially when I know, you know, and I know that LGBTQ plus brothers and sisters be the main ones out here advocating and in
Yep.
defense of Black lives. So if that's the reason, I really hope that's not the reason, and we need to do better as a community if that is the case. But Markia, I mean, what can we do to support you? What can people do to support, even if they're not in Baltimore, if people are outside of the city, or if people are in the city and perhaps are maybe hearing about this for the first time? What are some of the ways that we can extend and offer support to your family?
Well, if you guys can just post out, just repost our flyers, like, cause we always making flyers for our protests. If you guys can just repost our flyers, or just say Donnell name, because we have a little hashtag now, DLM, which means Donnell Life Matter. If you could just, repost Donnell Life Matter, or just say his name, Donnell Rochester, just post it like that's doing something, like that's important. So yeah, just keeping his name alive. We don't want Donnell to be a distant memory. That's what we don't want.
I think we can do that. I think we can do that. At least here in my small space, we will do what we can to elevate Donnell's name and make sure that people keep talking about him and keep amplifying the work that you and your sister doing to try to bring justice for your nephew. I mean, he deserves that, and most importantly, other people in Baltimore City deserve to be in their neighborhoods and deserve to feel safe. They don't deserve to be paying taxes towards an occupying force that can murder them and lie about them and then shrug the shoulders when it's time for accountability. So your nephew doesn't deserve that, your family doesn't deserve that, and the people of Baltimore City absolutely do not deserve that.
Yes,
But
you are absolutely right.
is there anything that you want to say, Markia? But if any parting words? And I feel terrible for even for asking you about all of this, because all of this is deeply intimate and deeply personal. But at the same time, I understand that you're trying to raise awareness for your nephew. So I appreciate you being brave enough and making time to speak with us. But is there anything that you want to leave us with? But before we let you go.
As I stated earlier, if you guys can just, I know you guys may not be in Baltimore, but if you guys can just keep Donnell's name alive, Donnell Rochester, because my nephew, he truly did not deserve what happened to him. Donnell, like I said, he loved his life. He loved to live. And for him to be robbed out of his life, is truly, truly heartbreaking. So, like I stated, I know you guys are probably not in Baltimore, but if you guys can just post his name, Donnell Rochester, he deserved it. He deserved for his name to still be made alive. He don't deserve to be a distant memory. He don't deserve to be pushed to the side. Like, Donnell deserves so much more, and my city failed him. The city of Baltimore truly failed Donnell, and that breaks my heart because he lived for his city. He loved his city. So, if you guys can just keep his name alive, just say Donnell Rochester, just, because he deserved it. He truly do. He was truly a good kid, man. Like, if you guys would have met him, y'all would have fell in love with him. So, yeah. And thank you. And thank you so much for having me so I can speak about my nephew. I truly, truly appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing Donnell with us and sharing this tragedy. I know it's not hard, and I know it's an uphill fight. So whatever small thing that we can do from over here to help amplify Donnell's name, and like you said, not allow his name to be a distant memory, that it is no trouble at all to do that, Markia. And I mean, you have an open invite to come back anytime. If there's any updates, should these pigs that murdered your nephew actually be held accountable, actually get fired, I would love for you to come on here and update us with those victories, because I believe that you guys are going to be victorious, because evil cannot be allowed to fester or to prosper, and I believe that you guys are gonna win on behalf of your nephew's memory. So I thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. And yes, when we do get our justice, I will definitely come back on here and let you guys know that we received our justice for Donnell. Because I know we're going to get it. I know we are. So I will definitely be back to let you guys know that we received justice for Donnell Rochester. So
Gang, we've been speaking with Markia Jackson. Her nephew, Donnell Rochester, was murdered by Baltimore police back in February. The police officers remain on administrative leave pending an ongoing independent investigation, I believe, through the Maryland Attorney General's Inspector's Office. They are not allowing Baltimore City to do the investigation in the prosecution of this. This has been assigned to an independent office. So we will keep keeping an eye on this situation and keep you updated. Thank you again, Markia, for your time today. We certainly appreciate it, and you're welcome. And sending your family our love and our condolences.
okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Markia. Fire fam. Thank you guys. I see your comments, and yeah, it is tough, and I appreciate Markia. I appreciate the efforts of her family. I did not know Donnell was LGBTQ, and to me, it makes more sense as to why there is not a lot. It's not a lot. There's not a lot of noise around this. And I want us truly as a community to look at ourselves, to examine ourselves when we know that our gay and trans and non-binary brothers and sisters have been killed by the state. How come we're not as loud when it's a young man who's a young father? You understand? Like, or it's some cisgender hetero. Like, we don't have that same energy for our gay brothers and sisters. And I have to tell y'all that is really fucked up, because our gay brothers and sisters got the energy for us. They got the energy for us. They show up for us. They organize for us. They put their bodies on the line for us. So we need to be doing the same. Okay, we need to be doing the same. And let's do what Markia told us to do, and let's keep Donnell Rochester's name out here. Hashtag DLM, Donnell's Life Mattered. Give me a second, guys. I'm a little, I'm a little emotional because it's a little heartbreaking. But let me take a look in the chat, because I love to see y'all smiling faces in the chat. That helps me out. Thank you, Coco, for sharing. Thank you for being here, sis. Come on. James Thompson, Fernie French, it was extra heavy, honey. We live in heavy, heavy times. Jose Perez says, where's the human rights campaign? Amen. Markia just said that Donnell was a big fan of Nicki Minaj. Where are the Barbs? Come on, Barbs. Where's Little Nas X? Like, it would be awesome if we could get some bigger voices, some bigger platforms to amplify this. I actually think Little Nas X would be a perfect person to bring to his attention what happened to Donnell. So listen, real quick, guys, thank you all for watching. This is the Friday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Do me a favor, like the show, subscribe to the channel. I'm sorry, I'm trying to pick it up, because the heartbreak is palpable. I can feel what Markia is dealing with, and I can only imagine what her family is dealing with too. So it's very sad. Very sad. But on the upside, we have a guest. We have another guest joining us today. And this is a very special guest, because this person works here. She is an integral member of our team, but in addition to that, she is a plucky young journalist who has been covering a variety of issues, but namely the issue of abortion and reproductive rights, and what this latest release of a draft opinion pertaining the Dobbs versus the Jackson Family Health Center case, the Mississippi abortion case that has been brought before the Supreme Court. And I'd like to welcome you guys, journalist, social media manager. Her name is Molly Shaw. Molly, is Molly here? Molly, hello.
Hello.
I'm so grateful you stayed awake.
You're going to call me young to start off with. That was nice.
Well, yeah, well, yes. You young like I'm young. We both young out here. How about that? You guys, Molly is joining us all the way from Berlin. And if you go to therealnews.com, Molly has ripped off 1,000 words of anger, when it was released about this Supreme Court draft opinion, allegedly written by Samuel Alito. I guess I can't say allegedly, Molly, because John Roberts came out this week and confirmed that that indeed was a valid draft of the decision. And even though it's not official, I'm not sure how much changes we can totally expect betwixt now and June or July when the decision was set to be released anyway. So Molly, let me get your thoughts. Oh, FYI, gang, in DC, they have erected fencing around the Supreme Court. Remember the kind of fencing they put around the Capitol complex after January 6th? Yes, they have put up that same kind of fencing. First time ever. Let the DC media tell it. So that gives me an indication of they must think somebody's coming to tear shit down around there, Molly. But let me, hold on, where are we going to start here? Molly, before we get deep into what we were gonna like sort of the legalities of such, I want us to look really quickly at some of the protest actions that took place this week after that draft opinion was released. So B1 is what we're going to go for first, Tunde. And actually, Molly, this was a tweet that you liked and it popped up on my Twitter feed because Twitter is fucking ridiculous and I see everyone's fucking likes and I don't know if I want to, but I do.
That's my
But in this case,
hometown.
woo, that's right. This happened in Louisville. So this first clip we're going to see is going to be two clips, gang. The first clip is from Louisville, Kentucky. And it says, students chant as they return to the building after an organized walkout protesting the potential overturn of the Supreme Court case of Roe v. Wade. Again, this was happening at a high school in Louisville. And the second clip you guys are going to see was the beginning peaceful portion of a peaceful protest in downtown Los Angeles that took a fucked up left turn once the feds got involved. But I want you guys just to see quickly the reaction, especially those of our viewers who are watching from outside of the U.S. No, people were pissed about this shit. Let's take a look at B1, gang. First clip is going to be the kids walking out of a Louisville area high school, and the second clip is going to be of the thousands that turned up in downtown L.A. to protest the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Let's take a look at that. So these images, shout out to Vishal P. Singh. You know Vishal, he is a friend of the show, independent journalist based out of Southern California. And Vishal was there while protesters by the thousands came out. There was a number of speeches given in downtown LA, obviously supporters of reproductive rights, people who are furious that people's rights are being walked back. which is very on brand for the U.S. White folks are not accustomed to this shit, but as you see, the white people are very upset, and they should be, and they absolutely should be. But you know, Molly, there was another instance in this same day in Los Angeles where the shit took a left turn. And I want us to, if we could get that queued up, Tunde, that's going to be B2. So as you see, the protests in LA were peaceful, widely attended, right? Lots of people down there, clearly minding their business, a peaceful protest. And the shit went all the way left when, for reasons, the Department of Homeland Security showed up in downtown Los Angeles. Now, mind you, there's LAPD, there's the Los Angeles Sheriff's Deputies Department, right? Why the fuck did the feds come out? Why in the fuck did federal police come to break up a peaceful protest of pro-reproductive rights folks? I want you guys to look at this, because this is again the ratcheting up of the fascism. But as some folks will point out, the fascism has always been here. It's never left. It has just taken different forms. But this is a form in which some folks are not accustomed to seeing. So I want us to take a look at B2, guys. What you're going to see is the Department of Homeland Security. Again, this footage from journalist Vishal Singh, who was front and center. I even think you may hear a sneak appearance from one of the homies, Richie Sojenko. I heard Richie's voice out there in these clips. I'm not sure if I actually saw Richie in these clips, but I heard his voice out there, so I know he was out there. The first clip, Vishal captions on Twitter, the Department of Homeland Security getting aggressive here in downtown Los Angeles at the pro-choice protests. And another Twitter user at Strange Alan Sky. This is the second clip is going to be at Strange Alan Sky's clip, and he reads in the caption on Twitter: LA cops tried to arrest a protester. LAPD cops tried to arrest a protester last night and were denied. Look at the fear in their faces afterwards. There are more of us than there are of them. Guys, this is the shit I need to see from the radical whites. I need to see more of this, y'all. Let's take a look at these clips of when the police got aggressive. Take a look. My bruv Liu Kang is in the chat. Liu Kang summed it up perfectly, Molly. Liu Kang said, yo, if more white folks showed up like this, we could get some shit popping. And I think the response from the people coming out really across the country in protests, big and small, to voice opposition to what is the suspected Supreme Court ruling. But then the police response, Molly, my God. And the fact that the fencing has gone up around the Supreme Court building, to me, it's a harbinger of things to come. But, and I know I'm throwing a lot at you, so let me figure out what my first question is going to be here. So how about this? It's likely, yes, that this is this a done deal? Is the Dobbs versus the Jackson family women's health clinic, in your opinion, is the draft as it has been leaked likely going to be the final thing?
So my theory is that probably the conservatives leaked it. My guess is Alito leaked it. And it's probably to shore up the support of the other people that are on the court. But even if Alito's draft doesn't end up being the official thing, Roberts would also, like, his draft would also end Roe, essentially. It would just be a little more incremental. And I know that a lot of people that work in reproductive justice are actually kind of afraid of a Roberts opinion because it would be very difficult to explain that that's what's happening. Whereas there's no nuance in Alito's opinion. So at least, like, Roe is done. And I guess privacy is done. So my guess is that opinion, maybe with some edits, will likely be the law of the land as soon as they release it.
Molly, explain what you mean by privacy is done, because it is Roe versus Wade that would be inevitably or, overturned as a result of the Dobbs ruling, but also Planned Parenthood versus Casey, and even possibly Griswold versus Connecticut. If my legal, my scant legal mind has memory. So can you fill us in when you say privacy is done? What do these previous three cases have to do with privacy?
It's not just those three; it's a whole bunch. You've got contraception, gay marriage, the ability to have consensual sex with whoever you want, possibly miscegenation. So, like, whether or not you could have an interracial marriage is on the docket. I don't know quite where Loving falls in that, but that would be one of the cases. And I mean, Alito's opinion is not just like Roe doesn't fall into the correct, it's not actually privacy. Abortion doesn't, fall into this list of things. It actually says, like, privacy is a make-believe right. It doesn't have a long constitutional history. We need to go back and listen to Justice Hale, who, burned witches at the stake. And that guy, he knew that, like, there was no right to privacy. So that's, like, who we need to listen to. So, yeah, so I mean, it could be really bad. I wrote an article, I think in October, where I interviewed Dan Cannon, who's been on the show, and then Joe Dunham, who was another plaintiff's attorney in the Obergefell, I can never say that one's case, which is the case that legalized gay marriage. And, like, they're convinced, and these are the plaintiff's attorneys, the people that won the case, they are convinced that it's next. So that, these statutes will keep coming back in the States. A lot of them are zombie laws. They're not off the books. And so if they overturn privacy, like, these laws will go back on the docket as something that, like, can be challenged, and, like, all these marriages can be challenged, and there's nothing to stop it. I feel like there's this, like, liberal delusion that has been going on for a long time that this is not going to happen, and that this would be too unpopular and they don't want to do this. This is absolutely going to happen. They're absolutely going to attack, and, like, the Democrats are not going to do a fucking thing, and the large reproductive rights organizations are not prepared for this. They are fundraising machines, and they are not set up really to combat this. There is no plan, even though there has been 40 years of attacks on it. There's no plan. There's interesting things you can do, like, maybe to, like, you could start having abortions on federal property. Like, you could do all kinds of things. The Democrats have no political will to do it. They're not going to stack the court. They're not going to do anything to fucking stop any of this. And the only thing that's going to stop it is, like, a mass will of people, and then also, like, incredible support for people who are trying to get abortions in states where these trigger laws are going to get into effect. In fact, like, my number one thing to tell anyone to do would be to donate to abortion funds. Because that is like, those are the people that are on the ground, like doing the work. Like, I think all the protests are good in general. Like, I think like mass protests in general, I'm for. But like what really needs to be done is like, there needs to be like community built around like getting people what is essentially illegal actions, like getting abortion pills to people, because it's a different, like, I read this really good tweet that said like, shouldn't be like back alley abortion should not be what we're talking about right now, because back alley abortion really implies that you're alone. And like, there really needs to be like a mass movement of people that says you are not alone. Like, we will support you. There are different, like, it's a very different landscape than 1970 as far as like medical abortion and like what we can provide. And like, you're not alone. Like, there needs to, that like, it's what needs to be happening right now. There needs to be these like mass movements of people helping people that need abortions, because they just do, and it's going to cost a fortune. I talked to a clinic owner in Alabama yesterday, and she was like just sort of like spitballing how much she thought this would cost to move people from Alabama to another state. And the places she was talking about, from Alabama to Southern Illinois to Washington, D.C., I mean, these are not close places to Alabama to do. And she estimated about $2,000 per person. And then she like sort of was like, I mean, she was doing it with me while we were talking, and she was like, and there's 2 clinics in Alabama and we get about 3,000 a month, and like, or, you know, and then she was like doing the math, and like, it works out to be an astronomical figure just for Alabama to like get if everyone had to move and get an abortion, you know what I mean? It's like well over $100,000 a month. And like, that's the kind of support that's going to be needed. And like, quit donating to places like Planned Parenthood and NARAL and NOW and those kind of places, because they are not doing the work of like moving people and getting people funds. And they also have huge endowments already and do not need this money. I like all of those organizations, sort of, but like in Planned Parenthood, certainly their clinic side is fantastic. They do lovely work. Like, I have no complaints. There's lots of great people that work there. They have a lot of union busting that goes on in these reproductive rights organizations, but there's lots of amazing people that work for them, but they are not who we need to be giving money to. They are not who we need to be supporting. We need to be supporting abortion funds and people that are working towards getting abortions to people like right now. So that's, I guess, that was a little rant for you.
Hey, I'll take it, and because it's sage advice, gang. Abortion funds, find one in your area, get with them. There's the Baltimore Abortion Fund, there's La Frontera Fund in Texas, there's Sister Song based in Georgia. There's a lot. There's a lot. So if we could get direct material assistance into these funds that will help people immediately on the ground. I mean, Molly, when you're describing a person who's pregnant in Alabama trying to get an abortion, all I hear is poor, right? All I hear is these people don't have cars. They don't have money for gas. They may not have bus ticket money. Who's going to watch their kids while they travel 1,000 fucking miles for a medical procedure? I mean, this is absolutely going to be devastating to poor women, and overwhelmingly Black and brown women are going to feel this burden borne more so on them. Tunde, if you could get up B3 for me, because you guys may not know this or not, but Molly is prescient as fuck out here. Listen, let me tell you what Molly wrote back in November the 3rd, 2021. Her piece on the Real News Network, the headline is "Supreme Court hearings on abortion bans are ominous sign of what's coming." And I told the people, Molly, I think this had to been Tuesday or Friday. Hold on, let me read an excerpt from Molly's piece here, because Molly had told me that this was happening, like that this is probably going to be a thing. She told me this like a week or two ago, and again, my brain was so overwhelmed and consumed with the other ills of the world that I was just like, oh, really? You think so? But this is what Molly wrote back in November. It says, "The lawyers defending Texas's SB 8 often were flustered throughout the defense of this law, with even some of the more conservative justices seeming concerned during questioning that the regulatory scheme may limit the power of the federal courts to rule on the constitutionality of any rights the law puts into question. However, during the proceedings this week, Justice Alito let slip a question. It was so prescient that you even quoted Alito in this November piece, Molly. Let slip a question to Texas Solicitor General Judge Stone that included the phrase, quote, if Roe or Planned Parenthood versus Casey is altered, end quote, setting off alarm bells for onlookers that Roe may indeed soon be altered. The question, which relied on the premise of the law, if the law is outright banning abortion at 6 weeks, may be soon found to be constitutional, sheds ominous light on how the court may rule in Dobbs. Molly Shaw, November 2021. She's taking your phone calls right now. Call me now. Call Molly now. Molly is psychic and prescient out here. So, I mean, Molly, how did you know Alito was going to be the main fuckboy in all this?
I was hoping it wasn't going to be Alito. But I mean, this is Alito's thing. This is why he got on the court. Like, this is his whole thing, is he hates the right to privacy. Anytime there's a case about it, he's always writes the dissent. He's always like the most like vocal and the most hated of like the right to privacy. I mean, he's a racist. And like, he's also a Catholic. I think that probably plays into it a little bit too. And he's very, very like, but now there's this whole cadre of like, I mean, it's just this Christocracy of like the 5 justices on the Supreme Court that are like driven by things that do not compel the majority of Americans. Like, I don't particularly believe that you should always look to like what the majority of Americans want, because it's not always great. But actually, when you look at Roe, typically like it's like 70% of people support like Roe v. Wade. And like, even if you look at like with restrictions, it's like, or without restrictions, it's still pretty high. So it's like the right to abortion is very popular because people know people who have had abortions. Like, everybody knows somebody who has had an abortion, and everybody like understands like a certain exception, like, and that is like, I mean, this is sort of going on a rant about the Democrats, which like I can do if you want.
Please, by all means.
But so like the Democrats and like with some assistance from like some of these like big repro organizations have run the absolute worst messaging campaign regarding abortion for decades, and they should be ashamed of themselves. They have run, and this is Bill Clinton, 1996, started with this like safe, legal, and rare. And what that does automatically is it seeds the ground to Republicans. Because if it has to be rare, that implies that it is bad, that there is something that is wrong with it, and that maybe like limitations on it are okay. Like, and we have just given that ground away. And like, abortion is a medical procedure. I don't ever think like your hip replacement should be safe, legal, and rare. I mean, sure, like, like I don't want millions of people to have hip replacements, but if they need them, then like good. Like, I'm glad hip replacements are there for them. Like, and it's just like a terrible messaging campaign. They've gone out of their way to like, they're NARAL did this whole thing where they like refused to, they did polling, and then they told everybody that worked in their affiliates that they shouldn't say things like abortion is positive, or like abortion, like anything that's like abortion is good. It should be like reproductive justice. And also it's been a lot of like tying it to like these like very vague phrases. Even like pro-choice to me is a little bit like kind of like what does that mean? It's so nebulous and it's hard to grab onto, and like it just like, I mean, like, you can be pro-abortion. Like, I am pro people getting health care that they need, and like it is embarrassing to me that like they can't even say the word abortion. Like, Joe Biden like did not say the word abortion until last week. The entire time he has been in office, it's always this like vague like reproductive rights, women's health care, like all this stuff, and it's like, it's abortion. They are attacking abortion, and it's like, it's just so frustrating to me that this is like, it continues to go on, and it goes on like all levels, even like their dumbass, like it's not done. It would be good if it passed, but like their bill that they're trying to pass that Joe Manchin is gonna back up and not let go through is called the Women's Health Care Protection Act, and it's like, why don't you just call it the fucking Give Us Abortion Act? Like, why? Like, why do we always have to like gauge everything in this like vague, like, oh, we're not really saying what this is? And it's like, they've had 40 years to codify Roe. When Obama was president and he had a super majority, like his first 2 years, there was absolutely no reason they couldn't codify Roe then. And like, there's absolutely no reason they can't, like, if they had any balls, like stack the courts, that they could like get rid of the filibuster and do this, but they're not going to, because they don't actually care. Like, that is my view. They are old, they are white, they are rich, they are not impacted by this, because Roe has always was supposed to be a floor. It's never ensured abortion access for everybody in the United States. It never, like, there's never been funding. There's never, lots of people do not get abortions. Lots of people already live in a post-Roe society. But the rich Democrats and their children do not. So like they know, no matter what state they're from, that they can ship their children if they need abortions to get them. And so they are not impacted by this, and they don't think it's a big deal because it impacts the working class, and that is why they don't give a shit. Like that, like they don't care, because, and they're not going to do anything dramatic. They're not going to do anything that might, like, you know, like make the New York Times write badly about them or something, because they don't give a shit.
Hold on, Molly. Hold what you got, because listen, I
might be a little
unite.
mad about abortion.
Listen, you have every right to be mad. I know you even coming back stateside to be mad. I know. I have a strong feeling that's why you're planning to visit the U.S. this summer, to come over here and be mad and burn shit down. And I'm with the shit. I want us to take a look really quick, because I know we're running a little deep in the hour, and I don't like to hold Tunde hostage too late. But girl, you want to talk about the Democrats and rich white dudes? Well, somehow the third most powerful Democrat in the House, James Clyburn found himself down in Texas, down in San Antonio this week, stumping for the most conservative member of the Democratic caucus in the House, who is running for re-election against a very righteous progressive Jessica Cisneros. And tragically, I cannot pronounce this man's name. I look at his name and it says Cular, but that is not the correct pronunciation for Mr. Henry. So we're going to let the news take it away. It's going to be B5 there, Tunde. So this first clip we're going to see comes from KENS 5, News 5 in San Antonio, where Jim Clyburn was down there stumping for this pro-abortion Democrat, right? Let the shit come to a vote in the House, and this motherfucker's going to vote against abortion, and yet this is who the Democratic leadership feels fit to support during this primary that is happening, or actually I think it's more like a runoff now in Texas. So the first clip we're going to see is Clyburn stumping for Mr. Henry. And then the second clip we're going to see is Jessica Cisneros in a MSNBC appearance where she openly called for Democratic House leadership to withdraw their support for Mr. Henry, because Mr. Henry is for abortion, and I don't see how you can be a party that supports pro-abortion candidates. So guys, let's take a look at this.
Democrats have a new line. Party membership is like marriage. They say spouses stick together even though they don't agree on everything.
But when I call Henry Cuellar my good friend, I really do mean it.
Majority Whip Jim Clyburn never mentioned Roe at this downtown rally, but said Henry Cuellar is one of the few Democrats he turns to help win votes. Party leadership's support here is a noteworthy show of loyalty to the only anti-abortion Democrat in the House.
Look, I'm a Catholic, and I'm against abortion, but do I believe in an outright ban? No.
Cuellar says he'd make exceptions for rape and incest victims, and that his stance reflects most of his constituents' beliefs. Today, Cuellar's opponent, Jessica Cisneros, called on party leadership to withdraw their support for the congressman. They haven't.
Having Jim Clyburn here sends a big message, that they're sticking with me.
So even as party brass like Nancy Pelosi fight to make the midterms about abortion access, Cuellar says their endorsement proves there's room under a big tent for Democrats like him.
That was Matt Houston reporting. Cuellar is considered one of the most conservative Democrats in the House. Experts nationwide point to this race and say it could indicate which direction the party is headed. Election day is May 24th.
You heard Jim Clyburn there. He said he doesn't think there should be a litmus test. On this, you believe there should be a litmus test. Why? What would you tell Jim Clyburn?
In this moment, we are watching the fall of Roe and the erosion of our fundamental rights. And this moment, we truly, it necessitates a champion that's going to fight for our people's rights in this district. And I've always said that this race truly goes beyond South Texas. The last thing we want is to hold on to a slim Democratic majority and then have someone like Henry Cuellar, who's going to keep signing with Republicans, not just on this issue, but he's done it on things like the PRO Act. He's voted to, fund the border wall. Has an A rating from the NRA. There's so many key issues where he's always signing with Republicans, and he could become the Joe Manchin of the House. We don't want Henry Cuellar to be the deciding vote on the future of our fundamental freedoms and rights in this country. We just can't risk that. And if you're watching this and you want to help us out, we're 19 days away from our election, and we need all the support we can get.
That runoff scheduled, I believe, I want to say May 24th. It is fast approaching down there in Texas. Molly, let me get your reaction to Jim Clyburn stomping for Henry Cuellar, Mr. Henry. That's his new name. I call him Mr. Henry. Mr. Henry is stomping down there for Mr. Henry when they have a better candidate, at least on the issue of abortion. I'm not privy to all of Jessica Cisneros' platform, and I saw some people in the chat saying that she would be as useless as AOC, but she'd be better than Mr. Henry. Obviously this represents an intentional strategy from the Democrats. You heard Jim Clyburn said that there needs to be a big tent for Democrats. Your thoughts about a big tent party for the Democrats? How come it's not a big tent for defund the police, but it's a big tent on abortion, though, Molly?
There's nothing that shows. This is such an easy one, right? You've got one guy. Doesn't really matter. Like one guy that is the only guy in the House that is, pro-choice or anti-choice in the entire House. And you could just let him go, right? Like if the Democrats was not a job program, that's how I view them, the entire party. It is a jobs program for the people that are in it. So they care about boosting their friends and boosting their friends' kids and making sure that they have jobs. They don't care about winning. They don't care about any of this because it's so easy to cut this guy loose. Just let him go. Who cares about this stupid Texas race? He's the most conservative guy in the House. It's a hot button issue right now. So even if it wasn't before, and even if you had just let him go, but they won't because they have to keep their little cabal of rich, powerful people that run this party that's not designed to make changes in people's lives. It's not designed to help the working class. It's not designed to do anything except to keep them employed. They will raise millions and millions of dollars off of this. I have my crap email where I just send everything. I pulled it up. I had 30 emails from the Democrats asking for money based on Roe. What are they going to do with this money? They have zero plan, no plan at all. Why would I give them money? But they're going to raise so much money, millions and millions of dollars on go vote more. We voted. It just doesn't make any sense. So infuriated by that. And I just saw my eyes go up. I'm going to end up being one of those clipped mad feminists on the internet, but it's just bananas. But
Real quick, Molly.
I was looking through and I saw something that Afra said, and I wanted to address it, which is she said it's really about reproductive justice and not about abortion, and that is true. And I do want to say that they're to me, I am pro-abortion. I am for abortion. If you need it, it should be there. But it is just as important to me that you also get support for. If you want to have a child, you should have the support to have them, because a lot of abortion choices are made because we do not support people and we do not give them health care. We do not give them child care. We do not give them anything. And I think that if you're in that situation and that's why you can't have a child, that is a tragedy. And we should, the societal response should be to help people that are in that position. And you should be able to do whatever you want. If you want to have an abortion, if you want to have a child, I actually was like not married when I got pregnant and like wanted to have a child and kept it. Like that is a completely valid decision for anyone to make. And like, you know, and of course these decisions like are hardest on people who are Black, who are brown, who are indigenous, and who are poor. And, you know, like, but I do think like making that decision, if that's the decision you're going to make because of that, you should have the support at least around you to do it. But it's just, you know, like I did want to address that because I saw she said that and I was like, I am for pro-abortion, but I am pro-reproductive justice. I'm for like people making their own choices about like what they decide to do. And like, and that includes if you want to keep a child, that you should be able to be supported and be able to have that child. And also like talking about like our last guest, you should also be able to like not have the fear of that child being killed by the police. Like that's an issue of reproductive justice as well. So.
Okay. Real quick, Infinite Content dropped us some bucks. Thank you, Infinite Content. And he says, or they say, Kim, it's time for a friendly reminder. Cuellar is currently being investigated by the feds for corruption. Yes, very on brand for Pelosi and Clyburn to stand with Cuellar under investigation for corruption and also a pro-life Democrat. You know, Molly, I saw a story, and not to say that I don't have an understanding of what only one abortion clinic in the entire state means. I understand that. So there's only one in Mississippi, in Jackson, the Pink House. There's one in Missouri, in St. Louis, and and one in Kentucky. Adios meals. And then I saw a story about the single abortion clinic in North Dakota. And then I thought, how fucking big is North Dakota? North Dakota is fucking huge, right? Like you have to have a car to travel to that one abortion clinic. You have to have money for gas to get to that one abortion clinic. You have to have the money for the abortion to go to that one abortion clinic. And North Dakota, I believe, is one of those states that has the trigger laws that when Roe is overturned, the abortion clinic will immediately close. And it really gave me a very sinking feeling within my stomach because I understand immediately how fucked up this is going to be for poor women. And again, to underscore what you said earlier, to fund abortion funds, not fucking Planned Parenthood, not NARO, abortion funds. Get people on the ground so these people can have access to these services. But before I let you go, Molly, you have been active on this issue. You have been covering this issue. You have been well aware of this issue, and you have been obviously sounding the bell on this issue. There is documentation to that fact that you have been ringing this alarm months in advance, at least. Yes. So, is this what you think is going to radicalize, especially like the millennial, Gen X, even Gen Z, quote unquote white working class, especially of women, because we know that the reason why a lot of shit is able to fly in this country is because white people tolerate it, right? Moderates tolerate it, liberals tolerate it. But I am in favor. I believe that when white women are royally pissed off, they can get a lot of shit done. Is this that time? Do you see white women rising up? Do you see white women taken to the streets behind this? And again, I say white women because you are a white woman. And I know that the actions that Black and brown women are already doing to organize around this and even trying to gain more momentum and more support for this. But understanding from your perspective, how do you see this? How do you see this radicalizing, if at all, white women who have largely sort of been observant, right? Been observing of these struggles and of these societal pushes and pulls. What do you see here?
I mean, I'm never particularly optimistic about white people, but and especially like if you look at like the generation older than mine, and I would even say you're in my generation, like Gen Xers and older millennials. You still got a lot of like second wave feminism stuff going on, where like, you know, just things like that they only want to talk about women. They don't want to talk about like, you know, like not just women get abortions. They can be like very resistant to like addressing racial justice issues or reproductive justice. So I don't know. I do think like the younger cohort of people is more tuned into this. Certainly, a lot of people that work in abortion access are younger and are white younger people and people of color younger, and I think they're more attuned to the struggle. I'm optimistic, I guess. Like if you saw that video, that's a student journalist that did that, Manuel Red Eye, and they're great. But that's good. Like there's young people that appear to be. My high school in Louisville also walked out, and that's. So I feel a little optimistic that there seems to be more. However, I do think where you always run into trouble is that white people are going to be protected more. White people are not going to be prosecuted as much. They will be, but they won't be prosecuted as much for having miscarriage. They won't be prosecuted as much for getting an abortion out of state, for using abortion pills. They won't face the kind of discrimination and the kind of problems that the end of Roe is going to bring to other people. And so that involves white people having solidarity with people that will. And in my opinion, what it involves is following the lead of Black and Brown and Indigenous people who are there, who are doing the work. Places like Sister Song is an excellent place to point to, but there are lots of places. And following the lead of those people, as opposed to making your own thing, Handmaid's Tale type stuff, or there's been all these protests that have popped up out of nowhere that are kind of who is this? How are you connected to people that are already doing this work? And it's just oh, well, we cared about this in 1973, and it's very different now. And so, it involves white women, particularly listening to Black and Brown and Indigenous people who are speaking on this. And, that's the thing that white people have a problem doing.
No, Molly, being too hard.
And,
I
I include myself in that. When I saw Afra's comment earlier, I was oh, I definitely did not address the full circle of how abortion works in this country, and who it impacts, and why certain people end up having more abortions. That's an important thing to talk about. But I'm optimistic that this is it's so dramatic and it will impact so many people that maybe it will be a catalyst. But there's been a lot of dramatic, horrible things that have happened in this country that white people have shrugged off. So
COVID.
I don't know.
COVID. Wait till you get back over here, Molly, even though I know you've seen the pictures. Honey, COVID is not a thing in the United States. It's not a thing. 1 million dead.
It's the Democrats whiffing on two major public health. That's what this is. This is a public health catastrophe. COVID was one, and now they're about to roll into another one. It is a public health catastrophe to end Roe. You are going to end up with and that's what I was thinking about today. I was this is not abstract. Women and people will die.
Yeah.
People will die because of this. It will kill lots of people, and it will destroy the lives of lots of people. It will end up with huge rates of foster children and people in poor. It will increase addiction. It will increase the poverty rate of children that are already, the children of, because most people, I think something more than half of people who get abortions are already mothers. So, they're getting abortions because they're trying to, for some reason, they factored their own children already into this decision. So, it will kill people. So
I think Tunde's trying to get a word in here. Tunde, you trying to hop in here too?
Yeah, obviously, I got a lot of listening to do in this conversation, so I don't want to jump in with just anything. But I think to kind of go back to your question of, are other people going to get involved that historically haven't been involved? I think so. And the reason why I think so is because this is the first domino that's falling, and it's a huge one. That's going to impact so many different things that everybody just kind of takes for granted as, oh yeah, duh, gay marriage, interracial marriage, anything, that we can think of as just oh no, we put that to bed years ago, decades ago, and so now that's all sort of coming back into play. My mom used to tell me when I was a kid, sometimes when I would eat too much, that my mouth was bigger than my stomach, and I think that's what the GOP is about to run into, is that they're going to look at this as an opportunity to just go after everything, and I think that's what their first mistake is going to be. Is if you're just trying to do one thing, maybe you can certainly get away with that, But if you're trying to go after everything, well, now you're just gonna, force the Avengers to, to band together, because everybody's gonna lose in that case, and that's what's gonna unite everybody. At least that's what I see.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's that. But the only thing I would push back on what you said, Tunde, is that this is not the first domino. Voting rights have been falling, right? So they've already been systematically at a state level been reducing people's ability to vote and to show up and to elect the fuckers that are making these new laws. But I agree with you. Like this is a more significant domino that impacts more folks, right? Because voting rights is basically a black and brown thing. This is actually going to impact some white folks. And we know white folks can't have that.
Well, that and the fact of what Molly was saying earlier, that this is like Alito he's not mincing words when when he's talking about this. So this is something that's very obvious, that's very direct. That voting rights, it seems like there's just we're not limiting voting. We're just you're just having
protecting
to stand
the vote. That's what they say. We're protecting the vote.
We're having you stand in lines for 10 hours. It's fine. You can do that, right? So like they're doing all that fuckery with that. So that's kind of more hidden. This is plain and obvious and direct, which I think is a little different than the voting rights. You can argue that as they sort of try to hide the football, if you will, with the voting rights. With this, it's being very obvious, which I think is clear to everybody.
One thing I wanted to, and you both, I would like to get your reaction to this, and I know Tunde, you'd like to log off because I know it's late for you, and for you also, Molly, so thank you both for hanging around. But in the draft opinion released or leaked, in it, Molly, I believe Alito made a reference to, returning this right of privacy back to the states, right? Or he framed it as such about the Constitution never provided for this. The Constitution never provided for women to have any rights, right? The founding fathers.
It doesn't say the word women.
Women not in the fucking thing at all. And you gotta dig into, and black women definitely not in the joke, right? Indigenous women absolutely not in it. So this notion that the founding fathers, these group of slave owning, genociding, rich fuckers who stole and created this nation, that somehow they have this prescient omnipotent wisdom that pervades centuries, right? Like we still have to look back 250 years to see what the founding fathers think. So this idea that they are still holding on to this to this white supremacy foundation of this nation and keep referring to these original constitutionalists and it doesn't say anything about privacy in the Constitution. Well, it doesn't say shit about women, doesn't say shit about black people. I mean, well, it does. 3/5 compromise. That's what they thought about us. But and for him to reference Hale, what I keep wanting to say Nathan Hale, but it's not Nathan Hale. What's the guy's first name? Is it Martin Hale? Jonathan Hale. Guys, look it up. I'm going to retweet this woman's thread on my Twitter. Give me an hour after I smoke a J because it's been a rough show. But y'all, the person that Alito references by the last name of Hale was someone who persecuted women he suspected of being witches, advocated for marital rape, and basically thought that women whom were widowed or single were an affront to nature. He felt as if the women having independence and autonomy was an unnatural thing. Like women's bodies had to belong either to their fathers or to the husbands. And if you had not a father or not a husband, then you were an abomination of God, I suppose. But the fact that in the year of our Lord 2022, one of the Supreme Court justices references this man and his philosophies and his beliefs in such an opinion, taking away autonomy over women's bodies is so telling. Tunde, let me get your comment, and then Molly will get the last word. Well, Tunde has no comments. Molly, the floor is yours.
I was just gonna say that like a lot of the law is built on these horrible people, and like why we are holding on to this like ridiculously dated, obtuse system that has fucked everyone over is beyond me. Like we should revolt. We should not put up with this. Like on so many levels. Like this is just one, but like on so many levels. Like why in the world are we grabbing on to what English common law said in, 1624 or whatever. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's a ridiculous system. And I wish that lawyers in particular would stand up and be like, this is unfair. It's set up a system that is systematically unfair to everyone. And we don't need this anymore. Like, we can envision a better future. We do not have to have this future. So.
Well said. Well said. You guys, please visit therealnews.com and type in Molly Shaw in the search button. Molly has penned a number of fantastic articles. And again, if you go back to her pieces from November and October, Molly called this shit. So I guess we ain't no guess. We need to listen to Molly because Molly knows what the fuck she's talking about on this issue and much, much more. And of course, she does an outstanding bang up job as a social media manager over here at Burn It Down with Kim Brown. And Molly, I appreciate you staying up late to share your wisdom and your insight with us on this fucked up issue. I'm sorry, this shit is so sad. I'm sorry you're an expert on fucked up shit, Molly. My bad.
It's all right. It was nice to actually say it out loud because I feel like I've been typing most of this, and I was like, but I apparently needed to yell it too. So. You definitely said the shit with your chest. Clearly, Molly has some things she had to get off her chest tonight, and I appreciate that fire, Molly. That is why we need you here on the team. Thank you, dears. Thank you. Thank you.
Guys, that's Molly Shaw. Like I said, go to therealnews.com. Look at Molly's most recent pieces, even some of her older pieces. They are well crafted and outstanding. And I'd also like to thank our guest, Markia Jackson. Again, justice for Donnell Rochester, y'all. Hashtag DLM, Donnell's Life Mattered. We are going to raise up this young man's name, his voice, his life, and demand accountability and justice from the Baltimore Police Department. Again, the department has a history of lying. There is no reason to suspect that they are telling the truth in this incident regarding Donnell. So thank you again to Markia, and we stand in solidarity with the Rochester family and with the Jackson family as well out of East Baltimore. Gang, that's our show. You guys have fucking rocked out. What's up, Germ? What's up, Donnie? Afraid Not is in here. Comrade Kwame, come true. Hey, I need an exit message, man. I'm going to work on that, Comrade Kwame. Get out my business. Louis Kang, love you as always. Quaker Anarchist, love you too, baby. Afra, my niece Alicia. You guys have been an amazing, outstanding chat tonight. Nawadi, aka Obi, Franny Francais, my squad in here. No, y'all better than the squad. Fuck that. My fire fam in here. The squad is lame. Fire fam about that action. We arsonists. I love y'all. Gang, join us Monday for the Disability Fire Fam Support Chat. Patrons, look for it. The link on Patreon. It's going to be Monday, 5 p.m. If you are not a patron, hit me up directly via DM on what's the fucking shit? Twitter. And I will give you the link, and I would hope to see you all there. Aside from that, Shirley in here. We will see you guys back here on Tuesday. I'm going to talk about COVID. We ran out of time, y'all. 1 million people dead from COVID. I definitely have things to say. And as we see, COVID cases, hospitalizations, and deaths all on the rise. Yep, I got some things to say about that, but we're going to hold those for Tuesday. So, gang, I love you guys to pieces. I love you guys to pieces. You guys rock so hard. Thank you so much, Fire Fam. Thank you to our patrons. Thank you to our amazing chat. Thank you to Tunde and Molly for, if it were not for you two, this shit would not be happening. Thank you all so much. On behalf of Tunde and Molly, let's fuck it. We out. See y'all later. Have a good weekend, Fire Fam. Y'all be safe out here, okay? Okay.